Today we are going to be drawing and painting an owl. So I am going to start with a reference picture I got off Unsplash. Did I screenshot it? I did. Awesome. So we're going to start by drawing this owl. So he's just sitting on a tree stump. I'm just going to draw his basic shape in first. So his head, whatever size I make his head, his body is 2 times that. So 1, 2. So that's the size of his head. So then I go 1, 2. That's the length of his actual physical body. I'll add his tail on the end. And I'm just going to go with the basic shape coming down and around his back. Like that. And then his tail is exactly the same length as his head. So 1 times his head, 1 times his head is the length of his tail. So I come down and around. Oops, excuse my little dog in the background. He's being a little bit vocal. What's the matter, Bear Bear? Let's check on him. What are you doing? Oh, he's barking at the washing machine. We just won't worry about that. He's being a little terror and barking at the washing machine. Okay, so he's got... Come on, Bear Bear. Come and say hello. Everyone say hello to Bear. Bear's being a little sooky lala. This is Bear. This is my little best friend who streams with me. And he's being very vocal today. So you pop down on the floor. Good boy. And he's going to draw his... He's got his ears, or they're feathers over his ears. I call them ears, but oh, he's got his ball. He's brought his ball to me. He wants me to throw it. Okay. I'll throw the ball down the hall to the dog and keep the dog happy. And then I'm going to draw his eyes. So owl's eyes are quite huge. So I'm just going to, I can adjust them and readjust them as I choose. Like if I think they need to be a little bit bigger, I can make them a little bit bigger. If I think they need to be a bit smaller, I can do the same thing. I can just erase. Everything's fixable. Everything's changeable. My other little dog. Now all my dogs are making noises. So I draw his irises. I'm just having a quick look. I might actually have to erase that eye. It was looking a bit messy. Gotta try. Oh, excuse my dogs. Excuse me. They're being very loud. I'm going to make his eyes bigger. I'm going to make his eyes bigger, so I'll erase those. Goodness gracious me. I might just let the dog out. I'll be back. Puppies, come on. Out you come. Out you go, baby. Okay, I've let the dogs out. I've let the dogs out, so hopefully now they'll be happy. All right. So I'm going to paint this guy in watercolour too. So I'll come down here. He's got his feathers on the sides of his beak, like that. He's got beautiful colours on him. I'm already thinking in my head what colours I'm going to use for the painting. And he's got like a beardy feathers coming down here. And he's got quite thick wings. So I'll just get the basic shape of the wings where I want them. Then come down for his tail. He's got quite thick legs, so I'll have him, he's standing on his tree stump. So I'll just draw his little claws on. I can see 3 of his claws. So draw those on there. They're quite large because they capture their prey with them, like mice, small rabbits, things like that. And you can just see the other wing just there. Alright, so I'm quite happy with that. I don't know, I'm deciding whether to go with ink as well. I might do an ink based drawing. I might go over the top of this with ink because I do like ink. And I've been having a lot of fun using my inks, so I'm going to pop that in the top of my palette like that. Grab my bit of cloth, have it handy, use my dip pen, and I'm going to start by going over and drawing his eyes, because eyes are the favourite part that I love to start with. So I'm just drawing his rather large surrounds of his eyes, and I'll draw his little irises and his pupils. Well, these are actually his pupils. His pupils are quite dilated in the reference photo. Alright, and that's going to be fun because their eyes are beautiful. They're beautiful, vibrant colours. So, I'm going to go over the top and add, that goes sort of to his ear. What's an ear feather? And the same on the other side, it sort of mirrors like that. And then he's got, circling his eye, got quite a large band of dark tone feathers. So I'll take those around like that. And then you can hear my little dog in the background, I apologise. He wanted to go out, now he wants to come back in. He's staying out. Alright. Now, draw his little beak. He's got these feathers. Come down and around like that. Down and around there. Come in, do his little beaky bit there. I'm going to pop a little bit of colour, a little bit of ink, just onto his iris. So I'll leave a little tiny highlight around the edge. The rest of him I'm going to do in watercolour. And there's only like 3 colours. You'll be transparent sienna, golden ochre, yellow ochre. I think will be the main colours that we'll use for this little guy. So now I draw his little beardy feathers on, like that. I come down onto his neck. I'll add his little ears. Okay, now to freeze back, I'm going to paint in the feather, the actual feather detail. I'm not going to worry about drawing it in. But for now, I'm just going to, I'll draw the basic feather shapes at the ends, just at the ends of his feathers. Like that. Come down like that. And they've got beautiful, thick, heavy feathers. Hello, Elf, how are you? Done a lot of nice animals, thank you. Thank you, thank you. How have you been, mate? I've been drawing lots and lots and it's been wonderful. What have you been up to? Now I'm going to draw his wing coming down and around here. And I'm excited to get into the colour of this bird because he's a beautiful, vibrant sort of looking bird. Excuse my dog in the background. He's being very sooky. So I come down and around there. So that's his tail. I might have to go and let the little doggo in. He's being a grump. So I'll draw. He's got, you can see the claws on that toe. Then the claws on that toe. Sweating hot, 105 Fahrenheit. Oh, ow. Yeah, we're in winter, thank goodness. Yeah, it's yucky. I don't like the heat. I don't envy you guys. How much? Well, I suppose you've only got, well, you got the same as us. You've got about a month left of the season. It's been terribly hot all over the world from the sounds of things. I've been watching it on the news and seeing how everyone's getting hit quite hard, which is not good. Not good. But the seasons will turn soon, hopefully. Make life a bit easier for everyone. So I'm just going to draw his tree stump. Yeah, we're in winter here, so it's still cool. It's lovely. Oh, I can just see my little dog running around the backyard now. He's happy. Okay, so I'm going to actually strengthen the line around his eyes just to make it a bit stronger, a bit thicker, because they've got such prominent eyes. I'm just going to, oops, go around this one. It's hard to tell like the symmetry because I draw a lot of freehand whether his eyes are the same size or not. I look at my big screen, I can see. Yeah, always nice to have fall come. Yes, I love the colder months. I'm a cold weather person, I have to say. I'm not a fan of heat. Australia gets very hot, but I'm not a fan. I'd much prefer to live in a cold climate. Makes life a lot easier. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry a little bit. I can actually go, because his eyes will need a little bit of time to dry, but I can work in around other parts of his body that will be drier. Whoops, a daisy, as I drop my brush on the floor. So I'm going to get a bit of transparent sienna, pop that on my palette, and I'm going to start with this transparent sienna on his little tum-tum. It goes down onto his legs. We've got quite an overcast day here today, actually. I've got to go to work later, but I get to enjoy the morning at home, which is lovely. Yeah, he's got this transparent sienna under his tail as well. I'm just going to go let my little doggo in. He's being a little grump. Hang on. I was going to go let Bear Bear in. Come on, Bear Bear. Come on then, you little terralera. In you come. Come on. He wants in and he wants out. Okay, now he's happy. He's back in again. And he's got his bally. He's got his toys to throw. Oh, he just dropped it. Okay, so even in that little 5 minutes, his eyes, around his eyes will be dry. The ink will be dry just there. So just run that around the sides. You can hear Bear playing with his ball next to me. You want to come up and say hello? Come up and say hello. Come on, Bear Bear. Come and say hello, Bear Bear. No, he's not going to do that. What do I use for my lives? I use what's it called? Streamlabs. Excuse me. I'm just going to. Pippi is now. I have 2 dogs, and they both usually pick the time that I'm streaming to go bananas. I'm just going to shut the door on Pippi. Pippi, you little grump. I'm sorry, Pippi Whippy. You're going to stay there. So she's down the other half of the house. She's a little grumpy. Yeah, so I use Streamlabs, and I use I've got a camera set up through an Elgato Capture card, a game card. So that's how I've got my camera plugged in. And for my little face cam, I've got just a little webcam. And my son-in-law set it all up for me. My son-in-law and daughter, because they're super clever at that kind of stuff. Because I've got no idea. So I'm just adding the transparent sienna in the places that I can see it. He's got it a bit around his beak too. I'll leave the white of the paper as the white of the bird. I like how you have 4 images on there. Oh, yes. So, yeah, the picture, so it scrolls through in Streamlabs. It allows you to add different images at any time. So I've got the one that scrolls through my artwork, the me one. The other one's actually for Twitch, the glass jar. That's a Twitch one because I stream on Twitch as well. Oops, I got a bit too much water on his eye there. I'm going to have to be very careful and absorb that back up the brush. Because on Twitch you can get donations and things and they drop into that little glass. Don't have a computer, just a tablet and a phone. Well, a lot of my shorts I make on my phone. My first year or so of streaming and of everything was on my phone. I did it all on my iPhone. So if you go back to my early streams, they're iPhone. Oops. And it doesn't matter that I've dropped that orange over the ink because it will. The ink is stronger. It'll show through. I can always go over it a little bit if I need to. Yeah, the kids built this for me for my 50th a few years ago. They built my setup so I didn't have to use my phone anymore. But I still use my phone. I make my shorts on my phone. It's just easier. Much easier. As you can see, you can probably see my phone's here sitting up there filming. I'm just going to drop this transparent sienna in the bottom there. I've got to get to absorb up the brush. Righto. That's just so much easier. So much easier. So now I'm going to I'm going to add a bit more transparent sienna, but I'm going to add a bit of burnt umber to it. A bit of burnt umber, just to brown it off a little bit for his other feathers. And I've been doing lots of ink lately, like lots and lots of ink work, and I absolutely adore ink. So that's transparent sienna mixed with a bit of burnt umber. And I'm just going to fill that in onto the feathers, the base coat for the feathers on his back, on his wings. Like that. And I'll add detail, more detail. I'll go back in at the end with ink as well if I want to. Whoops, doesn't matter if I go outside the lines a little bit. And I just made a video this morning on mixing your own greys. So I'm going to mix my own greys to create the darker tones on his feathers. Let's come around here and blend all that. Just going to drag it down. Can leave some white stripes on he's got a little bit of white on his tongue there. So I'll just leave little bits. I can always go back in with ink, white ink or a white acrylic at the end if I want to, if I need to. If I lose any of the lights that I don't want to lose. So go slightly stronger. Right, now mix my own greys. Burnt umber, and I want quite a dark grey, so I'm going to go burnt umber and indigo. Oops a daisy, drop my palette. Burnt umber and indigo. So burnt umber and indigo. My favourite blue is indigo. There we go. So it's a nice dark grey. Lazy just use paints. Yeah, I just like the softness you get with homemade greys. I do have a Payne's grey, but I very rarely use it. I use my blues mixed with browns. And I can get 3 or 4 different types of grey then. Just keeps it all a little bit interesting. Just doesn't look quite so flat. Mind you, Payne's grey, if you're going to have a grey, Payne's grey is the best. Alright. So that's indigo mixed with burnt umber. And it's very diluted to start with. Very super diluted to start with. And I'm just going to take that anywhere he's got his little darker spots, darker areas. I can even add that on his beak actually because his beak is grey. Oops, I got a little bit too much water. So absorb that back up the brush and just drag that other grey down like that. Got to come down. You can see it's super duper diluted. Super duper diluted. And I'm going to start adding the feather texture, and it is just short strokes. You can jiggle your brush a little bit to keep them interesting. Like that. Come down on his little body. I can add some, I might have to go back in with a bit of white at the end because I have lost a little bit of the white that he had. And I'm going to mix a slightly darker grey so less water, more pigment, to strengthen the darker tones. Make it look a bit more interesting so there's all different strengths of dark. So this is just a quick sketch, a bit of fun. So burnt umber again, and indigo again, just less water this time. Whoops, dipped into the wrong paint, and just less water. Oh, that's a bit too much water. So try that again, shall we? Go to the next palette down, go indigo and burnt umber, less water, more pigment. There we go, that's a bit thicker. It's a bit nicer. Do I watch Dina? I do, I love Dina. Love Dina Tollefson. She's fantastic. I meant to do it. She had like a competition thing, not a competition. Like you did she inspired you to paint something, and then everyone did their own versions of it. And I was going to do it last month, and I forgot all about it. I completely sidetracked, and it didn't happen. I was going to, but yeah, I tried to do her prompts and things when she does them because she's very inspiring. So come down here and add the patterns. Their feathers are so mottled and beautiful. I've just got to be careful. I'm going to add just the effect of the feathers directions like that. Alright, now I'm going to mix a bit more of a browny grey. I'm going to add a bit more blue to that. A bit more blue to it. A bit more brown, a bit more blue, a bit more indigo. Make it a little bit darker. And now I'm going to go back onto the original grey, and you can see that's added a couple of tones darker to it, which is what I wanted. You should join the challenges. Next one is a gardener challenge, garden art challenge. Ooh, cool. I definitely will. I've got to stick it on my calendar so I don't forget because I get completely sidetracked and I forget. So I'll have to write it on my calendar so that I look at it every day and get reminded. Because I wanted to do the last one. I can't remember what it was now, but I wanted to do the last one. And I forgot. And then when I remembered, it was well past the date. As you do. So I'm just going to take that pattern around his eye. Like that. I'm going to strengthen that dark down here. Like that. And he'll start to pop. He'll start to come to life a little bit. Hopefully. In theory. So I'm going to go around and add that darker grey to the bits in the middle of his feathers on his tum. And coming down and around here. And I can even add some purples. Purples make a great dark. I get my pre-mixed purples and add a bit of blue to make them interesting. I'm going to actually add his little claws too. Add his little claws. Come down onto his little butt. And then under his tail. I can add some more gold under there as well. She has a video for it. She's let people post late and early. Cool. Yeah, I might do I've got it because I don't start work until lunchtime or just after lunch. So I can actually might even be able to squeeze a picture in and enter it. Because I have to enter early because otherwise I'm just not going to get it done. Okay, I'm going to mix up a bit more indigo and a bit more burnt umber. Touch more burnt umber with my indigo. There we go. And I'm going to really darken up the feathers on his back. Just up here on his wing. And I can draw in the shapes of the feathers with the brush. I've got to fill it that bitty, just there. Actually, I had a beautiful kookaburra feather yesterday. It's a big bright blue one. I've got to go get that. I might just do a painting of feathers as well because I love the colours in feathers. You get so many different colours. Alright, I'm quite happy with that. So far, so good. So far, so good. I might actually add a purple. I'm going to go a bit of dioxazine, which is a seriously strong purple. And I'm going to add some indigo to it just to darken it. So add some indigo. And it's just, fiddle around and find what you like to make the colours you want. It's all trial and error. It's all just practice. And I'm going to add that purple tone into the top of his head. Just to add a little bit of interest. I saw that, yep. And then I'm going to pop that purple tone. The rules are there are no rules. I'm just adding, that just makes it interesting and makes watercolours look a bit more lively. Got to add a little bit of bright in there. Oh, excuse my dog. Protecting me from the washing machine yet again. Okay, come down and around here. I'm going to add that purple under here. Like that. Bit of purple there. Take that down onto his wings. Use that purple tone for his flight feathers down the bottom there. Take it onto here. Okay, I'm going to let that dry for a little bit. And then I'm going to go get my orange. I've got my beautiful orange. I love this orange. Oops, I've got a little bit of another colour in there, doesn't matter. And I'm going to take this down over the top onto his leg feathers. And I'm just going to add it into a few spots on his tum. Where I can see that he's got those orangey bits. He's got a little snip of orange along here under his wing. And he's got quite a lot on his little tail feathers, just under his little bot. And watercolours, you don't need to do too much, like less is more. And I'm going to add I'm going to add yellow ochre to his feet. Very diluted, so it's very, very pale. Onto his little feet. Oops, doesn't matter that orange is bled down onto there, doesn't matter at all. Take that onto his other toe. There we go. So he doesn't need a whole lot more. Keep it simple. No need to overwork things. Keep it quite simple. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow over the orange on his eye. Just a little bit. Just to add a little bit more. Whoops-a-days, doesn't matter. I'll just quickly blot that out with my cloth. That purpley colour was still a little bit damp there. So I'll go back in just at the bottom there. Absorb that up before it hits that purpley area. Right, I'm going to let all that dry and I'm going to go and work on the little stump. Now the stump is pretty much yellow ochre and transparent sienna. So I'm going to go in with transparent sienna. So it's pretty much the colours of the bird. They blend in with their environment, these guys. They're pretty amazing. They're camouflaged, quite camouflaged. So I'll come in and around. I'm going to add some yellow ochre, just let that run, let that flow down like that. Like that. Add some burnt umber. My go-to happy paint. I love burnt umber. And literally run that round and just let that flow down into it. Let it all mix on the paper. And I'm using a Stillman and Burns Zeta series book for my art today. Down and around. Up under his feet like that. And let's keep it very super simple. Super duper simple. Alright, so the white of the paper is the white on him. I'm going to go in a bit more pure transparent sienna around his eyes, the eye feathers, that create like the mask. It's almost like a mask. That's how I'd describe it. Take that around the edges of his mask, like that. Having a quick look at the big screen. Like that. Alright, and I'll also add a little bit of that around his beardy area, like that. Onto his ears, which aren't really ears, they're just feathers that cover his ears. And take a little bit onto his body, and you can see that just lifts the colours just a little bit. I can actually add some detail if I want to. I could go back in with my ink at the end, but I don't know, I might just leave him. I'm going to add a little bit of that to the bottoms of his toes, because that's darker. Little strips of colour onto the backs of his feathery legs. And we're going to call that done, I reckon. He's not far from done. I don't know that I need to do a whole lot more. I do need to add a little bit of that purple just down and around here. Whoops, got a little bit on my finger. Clean my brush. Clean my brush. And just wipe that. And get rid of that watercolour off the paper. And just blot it up with my towel and you can't even see it. And I'm going to put some shadow using the purple that I've already got mixed underneath his feet, because he's shadowed underneath. You've got to remember your shadows. Shadows are important. And I'm going to pop that shadow colour, that same shadow colour on that leg that's in the background there. Probably going to add a little bit of that shadow colour under there as well, on the very bottom of his tail. I'm just looking anywhere I can see that he has shadows. I can shadow up under there a little bit. Alright, and I might even use a little bit of that down into the cracks and creases and crevices on the wood. Keeps it all nice and unified, like that. Don't forget the shadows on his toes. So I'm going to actually, hit my camera, sorry guys, use a little bit of that grey that I'd made with my burnt umber and indigo. Oops, and that can blend into the shadow underneath his foot as well, it won't hurt. I can just drag that around a little bit, like that. Oops. And it'll dry a couple of tones lighter, so I'll just go back in, clean my brush, and just move that around a fraction. I might take that onto this other leg as well, just here. The leg that's off in the background. Alright, I'm quite happy with that, I think. And I'm going to widen his irises, or his pupils rather. I'm going to make them a little bit bigger. Just a fraction. They need to be a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to do that with my purple. And I reckon he's not far from done. So that took me, what, half an hour? It's a half an hour start to finish. Not bad at all. Get a bit more of my grey tone. burnt umber cobalt, and I'm going to take that around the top of his eye again, just to darken that up a tiny little bit more. Good to see you. Take care. Hope to join the challenge. I will. Thank you. Good to see you too, mate. Good to see you too. Have a lovely day. Actually, I'm going to go in with ink on my brush now, because I can. Because why not? Just to get the super duper darks. Bit of ink, because I love ink. Love ink. Can't wait for Inktober again. I'm going to try and do Inktober again. I've done it every year up until last year. I think last year was the first year I didn't do it. There we go. Get the darkest darks onto the bottom of his tail feathers, like that. I'm going to go round the edge of his eye carefully. Just that outline with the very tip of my brush. And follow that around that side as well. Whoops. Like that. And there we have it. We are going to call that, the little owl, done. So I'm just going to sign him down here and call it done. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. And I will be back in a couple of days for another stream. I'm going to add some little finishing touches here, like that. But yeah, I will be back in a couple of days. Hopefully Wednesday I'll stream again. So I look forward to seeing you then. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you later.